Good morning, good afternoon, and good day to all our listeners and participants who have joined us for today's edition of SkyConnect. Thank you very much for your opportunity. And in particular, ladies and gentlemen, I would want to thank Engineer Yehia Zakaria, who is our guest today. Engineer Zakaria is the Group Chief Executive Officer of EgyptAir. He will tell us a bit more about himself. But ladies and gentlemen, before we get into that, allow me to give you to remind you of the ground rules for the participation. You would be given the opportunity to participate in the discussions as we go on. So if you have a comment or question as we go along, please use the chat box or the Q&A tab, and I would actually review your questions and we will respond to them as we make progress. Secondly, ladies and gentlemen, it is my pleasure to let you know that this show will run for approximately 1 hour, and we would be discussing a number of issues very important to the air transport industry. Largely, we're going to be looking at the contribution of EgyptAir, the activities of EgyptAir in terms of its network, its MRO and training services as one of the biggest providers of MRO and training capacity services on the continent. We're also going to look at airline cooperation in general and the strides EgyptAir is making on the continent to make cooperation feasible and possible, and what others can learn from EgyptAir on the cooperation. We then will proceed to do a little bit more dive into the upcoming AFRAA Annual General Assembly, which will take place in Cairo from the 17th to the 19th of November. That is this month. We look at what you should be expecting if you're planning to come to Cairo, all the excitement that will be there, all the networking opportunities, the tourism opportunities, the entertainment, and so on and so forth, that EgyptAir has kindly put together for our pleasure and our time whilst we are there. And then we now wrap up our conversation by looking at the situation beyond the AGA and any final messages that we might have from Engineer Yehia Zakaria. So ladies and gentlemen, if you are ready and poised for this show as I am, it is my pleasure once again to welcome Engineer Yehia Zakaria. Engineer, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Raphael. Thank you for giving me these opportunities.
Thank you. Let's start off. I know some people know you, but there might be some of our viewers and listeners who probably don't know more about you. If you can tell us a bit about yourself and then about EgyptAir and the strides you are making. Thank you.
Okay, you're most welcome, Raphael. So in brief way that I'm Engineer Yehia Zakaria. I started my career as the maintenance engineer, mechanical engineers in the Egyptian Air Force. This was long time ago, up to taking the positions of the chief engineer of the Air Force, Egyptian Air Force. I was responsible for like 1,200 aircrafts and more than 35 types of aircraft. And this is done actually during the rough times and, you know, the political unrest in this area, I mean, in the regime with the revolutions and a lot of wars around us. So it was actually a tough time. And then after finishing my service or my job as a vice chairman or vice commander of the Egyptian Air Force commander, I moved to the commercial life and I joined EgyptAir as the CEO and chairman and CEO of the maintenance and engineering in the EgyptAir. This done for 1 year. I focused during 1 year for, I mean, we had very tough times at EgyptAir, starting from 2010 up to the pandemics. So we got a lot of crisis after crisis. you know, up to the last one, which was pandemic. So this is concluded actually like a 30 billion local currency as a return loss. So I focus as a chairman of this facility or this company to get rid of this return loss, and we made it. We made a profits, and actually I focus on the third-party service for the maintenance and engineering company. Then I moved after 1 year to be a chairman and CEO of the holding company. You know, holding company is a portfolio holders. There are 7 subsidiaries under this portfolio, which is the airlines, the cargo, the maintenance and ground handling, catering, medical, and duty free. And during the startup of these careers, I focused, like I said, on dominate recovery of the loss and dominate the role of the EgyptAir in the region and internationally. So we start focusing and we start our strategic plan we just finished for the next 5 years, and we start focusing on the modernizations of the fleet, expansion of the network, digitalizations. You know, there is a say said that to E or not to E, as long as I'm not digitalized, so I'm away. I'm very far away. And then the last thing, which is very important, we've been focused on the asset, the real asset that we actually have, which is the capital, the human capital resources. You know, we had a very tough time, and we did not, like we can say, we did not lay off during the last years for crisis, any kind of crisis. We did not lay off any of our resources, our capitals. We kept them. We did not stop paying to them. Everything under responsibility of EgyptAir, and thanks God for that. I cannot hear you.
Sorry, it's me.
Okay.
So you really are an industry person proper, because you started right from the beginning in the aviation sector, even though it was partly in the Air Force, but then you jump into mainstream commercial aviation. Congratulations for that. Now, you talked about the subsidiaries. I'll come to talk a bit about the subsidiaries a bit later. And then also you migrated from a 30 billion loss to profitability. Tell me, how did you go about this restructuring? Did you grow the network? Did you recover from where COVID led us in the past? Are you now back to where you were before COVID, or are you still there?
No. For the retained loss, we converted to profits, but we have still some kind of return. We get rid actually of more than half of the retained losses, and we still in our way to completely finish with the retained loss. But actually, for the 3rd year now, we had achieved profits. I'm talking about net profit. We achieving profits. So we started our plans by correcting the financial positions of the company. I mean, you know, the fluctuations of the currency, the value of the currency in Egypt is very solid and very rigid and fluctuating a lot. So we started to think about it. We make, because most of our revenue is coming from the foreign currencies. So we start to think about making our financial position as a long financial position. I mean, if we face in the future something like devaluations, or the FX effect does not affect the current situation of EgyptAir, which is, I mean, in the last give us a profits. And we start to think about, like I said, increasing expansion of the fleet, expansion of the networks. So we started with 72, and now we reached it up to 88, including 7 destinations as a domestics. So we start to have a very profitable and very accurate methods to follow on the operations of the fleet. Now we are 82 international and 7 domestics, including, which is our interesting part, including 25 destinations in Africa. We are very focused on operations in Africa, and Africa is, African continent is for Africans. So it's not good. I will not be happy I see the dominant airlines is not African airlines. So we are supporting flying in Africa, but we have to have our share in Africa. So we boosting the operations in Africa by adding more routes, and in the future, up to 28, we are planning to add more routes or destinations in Africa.
Okay, so how do you see the African market going into the future? Is there a huge potential, or is it a saturated market in your view?
No, it's not saturated. They have a huge potential, especially in Egypt. The potential in Egypt, like Egypt having the most crowded routes in the top 10, like Cairo, Jeddah. We are 120 million population, so the appetite for traveling is still very, very high in Africa. But we have to do a lot of things to, get the projects or the methods very close together. The methodology of cooperations between African countries and airlines, it has to be closer, much better than we have now. I cannot.
Sorry, we're going to talk a little bit later about airline cooperation. But before we get there, before we get into the cooperation aspects, I would want to find out, because EgyptAir, like you said, is a group with 7 subsidiaries. And one of the key areas is on maintenance, and another is on training. Now, but we don't hear so much about African airlines maintaining their equipment with EgyptAir. Is it happening, but in the quiet, or is it slow?
It is happening in the quiet, like you said, but we have a very well-known MROs in African and international way. In the Middle East, of course, and in Africa. So we have a very big and certified MRO facilities in engine shop and heavy maintenance for wide body and narrow body, certified by FAA and EASA as well. So a lot of airlines like to come to EgyptAir MROs. We are doing a wide body and a narrow body, different types. And we had in contracts that like over 18 airlines coming from Africa. I'm talking about, if I'm talking about MRO is a state of the art, we can say.
Yeah. No, if I recall one time on my visit to EgyptAir, we were given a tour of your maintenance facility as well as your simulators and the cabin crew training facilities. Very impressive. Very, very impressive. So the question I had at my mind at the time was, are Africans actually using this? How can we make more Africans know about the existence of these facilities and make use of them?
This is part of the next questions you're going to ask me. The cooperations between the airlines is the knowledge sharing. We have to have more knowledge sharings between and experience sharing between what we have in the African. It's like a shame that nobody in the African or airlines does not know that very close to them that they have they have an MROs or training academy or a simulator center like we have in Egypt. So we have a very, very good reputed training academy. We can say that we are utilizing a maximum hours for the training academy. It's working, operating day and night, 24/7. A different pilots or trainees coming from around the world to have the training, such kind of training in the training academy. And we had aircrafts and airlines coming from different countries. We had like I remember 2 months ago, aircraft coming from TAB, Portugal, to have an inspections at EgyptAir MRO, different airlines from Europe, from Africa, from the Middle East. So I think we have to have a knowledge sharing in a different way. As long as we have somebody very close and neighbors to us does not know that EgyptAir owned a piece of art of MRO.
Yeah, that's true. But do you currently have capacity to take on more maintenance work or more training jobs?
Yes, every day. You know, it's everyday job, you know. So according to the capacity, that sometimes it's difficult and sometimes it's okay. But we have to manage it together. I mean, it's easy to manage.
Yes. Does EgyptAir also train pilots?
Yes, we have a simulator for 737, for 320 Neos, and the SAU. We have simulator for 330. We have simulator for 777. We have an ambitious plan to have different simulators.
Okay, and do you do ab initio for pilots?
Yes.
Okay, good. So then I'm not too sure whether this information is out there on the African continent, and I think I remember a couple of years back, AFRAA had all the simulator trainings, all the pilot trainings, all the MROs on their website. I think that information is still there, but probably we need to do a bit more. We need to be a bit more aggressive to get this information out there and get more students to come in. Because the next challenge we're going to have in Africa might be actually getting running short of pilots unless we start to train them.
Yeah, and I think we have a very good opportunities for the next AGA, so we can arrange a visit if you would like for the members to come to MROs and the training academy to see the actual capabilities that we have.
I think that would be a good one if we can arrange that. It will be very good for those who might be interested. I think so. Yeah.
Okay, that's great.
But we touched slightly on cooperation, and you alluded to that. There's the need for airlines to actually cooperate. Why do you think currently we are not very strong at cooperations in Africa?
I don't know. We have the capabilities. We have everything. We are very close. We are concerned about our continents. We are concerned about airlines, but we have to do something. So like SATM, we have to implement the SATMs as soon as possible. So we have like financing issues. The government has to support their airlines. I mean, by financing, by whatever financing agency, and the infrastructures of the airports. We are paying a lot of taxes. We are paying a lot of fees in the airport. The infrastructure is not good. So we are looking to have, like I told you, a knowledge sharing and experience sharing. This some kind of very important requirements to cooperate together. The connectivity, it has to be together. So every time airlines ask us to have a code shares, we are very keen to go through these code shares. We have like 14 airline destinations by code shares now. So we are very interested in that. I think this is the best method to talk together, and we have the cooperation together. And for the government, we have a role for the government. So we have to facilitate the movement of the citizens between African countries. I mean, it's not good that we are fly from point A to point B, and suddenly I find difficulties in flying and moving and getting visa when I reach our destination. So it's a bilateral actually relations between the airlines and between the governments.
With 14 cooperation arrangements within with airlines, that you must be one of the biggest airlines doing cooperation on this continent at the moment, because not very many airlines have that number of cooperation partners on the continent. Yeah, and it also means that EgyptAir must be doing something right.
Yes.
What is
And
it?
I think
Yes, go ahead. You go ahead.
I think we did not think about the marketing sharing. It's everybody is operating alone, so we did not think about marketing sharing between different airlines. I mean, we have to share our the marketing of our. Not I'm not talking about the airlines. I'm talking about the country, which is the bigger target. The
Yes.
country we have to market our countries together. I mean, Egypt and Tanzania and Ethiopia and a lot of nice places like South Africa. So we have a potential for tourists and inside Africa, which is not discovered yet. We have a very good places for doing that. So why we are not marketing as a group, as the top airlines in the Africans? Why we are not make something like a branding of the African airlines? We have a unified brand that are talking the voice of Africa.
No, honestly, I think it is a missed opportunity, but I think on hindsight, we are coming back to do that. I see under the Africa Continental Free Trade Area, there is
Yes.
now concerted effort to make sure that Africans actually do business with each other. And business not only in the trade sector, but also in the movement of people, and as well as business in the air transport sector. So it's a very good thing, and I think it will come. The issue always is we tend to be very much uptight about we're not too sure whether we should allow our neighbor to come in or we should hold on. And for whatever reason, it's difficult to tell. How do we get away from that and make it more easier for us to cooperate? How do we build that confidence?
I think it's not building confidence. I mean, something I cannot say that confident, but we have to sit together and make it easy. You know, we tried several times to have like a fifth of freedoms. This is for the sake of the continents, flying from point A to point B and inside Africa. We find it difficult. It's not going easy or slow, but everybody is anxious. It's interesting, but when we go to the actual talk or actual discussions, it's moving very slow. So we need to foster this regulations, or because the regulations is Africa is not unified. Every country operate on their regulations. We have to unify the regulations, which make the future cooperations much easier than we have now.
Now, on the regulations, you touch on a very important subject, because 54, 55 countries with different regulations everywhere. I mean, this cannot help us. The same thing you need visa for every point that you touch. It's frustrating in terms of business. And hard as our state institutions are trying to come together and reduce these ones, we still have a very strong resistance. But it is my hope, and I know many Africans like yourselves, that going forward, Africa will collapse these artificial boundaries and make business much more feasible. Until then, we just need to keep pushing, ensuring that we make things happen the way they are. But engineer, the one thing, EgyptAir is one of the few airlines on the continent that is making profits. But the cost of doing business on the continent is very high, especially for airlines. Fuel is expensive, maintenance is expensive, handling is expensive, navigation is here. How do you manage to get efficiencies to be profitable?
So actually, in the beginning, I told you that we are focusing very close monitors, like every day, every week, not every day, every week. We are sitting together and monitor the progress of the whole. I'm talking about the whole networks, because maybe you have some routes it's not getting money, but it's actually contribute in different routes. So this is some kind of different scenarios that we have to do together. When we sat on the one table, me and the commercials and everybody related to the profits, we are talking the same language. And we have to have, finally, we have to increase the profitable routes and decrease the non-profitable routes. This is a target. So every day we are thinking about, so what we have to do with these routes, increasing frequency, changing time. So actually we have the target to get profits.
So really close monitoring of the airline's
Yes.
performance.
Yes.
Tracking your performance and your revenues and your expenses on the routes, being more efficient are some of the ingredients to get us to profitability.
Yes. Let me tell you something about that.
Yeah.
So the competition now is very high, and the low cost existence. They have to be It's a fact. It's actually a part of the competitions because the packs now are price sensitive. Everybody is looking. Maybe he's not looking for the good meals or bags or whatever. He's looking for the price. He wants to travel. He has the appetite. He wants to travel, but he does want to pay less money. So we have some kind of competitions, and these competitions actually put a very high pressure on the network airlines. So we have to think differently. We have to think about different packages that we can offer to the packs. We have to think about the ancillaries, not only the flight, the in-flight activities, but the ancillaries. Maybe it will increase the ratio of the ancillaries. It will give you more money.
Is there a forum where we can actually exchange these ideas? As among the CEOs, I know AFRAA annually organizes this CEOs forum on the sidelines of the annual General Assembly. But outside of that, I think it will be important if we can have forums where CEOs can meet just on their own and think through how can we be more efficient? How can we work much more closely together? How can we fit the small things together so that we are much more profitable? Don't you think so?
Yeah, I think so. Will be very beneficial for the sake of us. And thinking that we are wanted. I mean, we have to believe. We have to have the faith that
yes.
we are sitting together for the sake of the continents.
Yes, and we need the development and the movement of the continent's people and goods is in our hands. We need to make it happen because the continent is big and we don't have good roads
and is rich. The continent is big and rich.
Very, very rich. But we're not the beneficiaries of the wealth, unfortunately, most of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, engineer, if we were to look at this continent and the operations that we have, the one thing is we keep still hearing that there are occasions where airlines fly from Africa with passengers to Europe and then bring the passengers back to Africa. We're trying to use the single African air transport market to make that easier, make movement across the continent easier. But we're still having some difficulties with some states not signing the single African air transport market. Do you have any ideas how we can convince them to quickly come on board?
And we have to, it's easy. I mean, everybody is I think the airlines want to keep their positions constant as much as they can. So they think that this is kind of somebody who's come to join us in the revenue that I'm going to make. And actually, if we united together, I think the revenue will be more. So we have to set and rethink about this system and think in a positive way how to implement this agreement. And for the sake, and we have to make it in an economical way. We have to convince everybody in this continent, and every airline, that this is for the sake of the continents. And we can make the regulations much easier, and the economical outlook is more clear for everybody.
Thank you very much, Engineer Yehia. Ladies and gentlemen, let your questions keep coming in. I've seen a couple. Let more questions come in. Very soon I will engage on your questions. But before we get to that stage, I want to engage Engineer briefly on the 54th AFRAA Annual General Assembly, which he is the president of AFRAA and would be the host of all of us who will be congregating in Cairo from the 17th through to the 19th of November 2024. So, Engineer, thank you very much for accepting to host AFRAA and all African aviation community in Cairo. Now, can you tell us, how is preparations going so far? Are we on course? Is everything set?
Yeah, we had started preparations for this event, and actually, it's my honor to be a president of this meetings. I'm very happy, very glad to have such kind of very wonderful people and airlines coming from our presence in Africa to Cairo. We've been preparing this event since we declared it, and we want to make it something very interesting to the members and to the guests. So Egypt is, is the land of civilizations. You can find history in every corner you move, in every place in Cairo and in Egypt as a whole. So it's a land of civilizations. It's a land of the history. So we prepare a very interesting programs for the members and guests, and I think they would like it. They would like to go to the ancient places. They would like to have a nice places in the museums. They have a very good opportunities in talking together in business and different things, shopping opportunities. So, but you have to have some money for shopping. Yeah.
Oh, good. No, excellent. We look forward to, and I'm sure a lot of delegates are looking forward to. As you said, Egypt is full of so much history, and so much to see and do whilst you are there for the conferencing. Now the issue is some people are concerned about the high cost of tickets from certain parts of Africa. And I've just seen a question coming from a gentleman who is saying that ticket fares are quite high. Has EgyptAir got some discount rates for people wanting to travel to Cairo for the AGM?
For the AGMs, let us think. They can send for us the request, and we can see.
Okay, good. So to the person who made that request, please just send your request through the AFRAA office, and we would reach out to EgyptAir and see what concession EgyptAir can give in that regard. Now, I got a question from one of our listeners also called Nicholas. And Nicholas is saying, in what way is EgyptAir embracing digital transformation to improve customer service and operations?
And we have a plans for transformations, and this is part of the strategic plans that we have. And I told you we just finished our strategic plan and got approval from the port. A very big part of it is the digital transformations and the travel identity, the biometrics, and offering orders. It's a part of the very big strategic plans, and we start already on that plan.
Oh, okay. Now, and the gentleman who wanted to know about the fare is called John. Sebambuli. I've already talked to you. I said, just send your message, your request to AFRAA, and we will deal with it as we get closer.
Yeah.
Now, engineer, there's another question. How can we support your airlines, aircraft consumables, materials like aerospace sealants that are authorized to be shipped out of the US? I don't know whether you have needs for a sealants. This is the question by Curtis. He's asking how his company can actually supply you with sealants. Curtis, we're not marketing here. We're actually trying to understand this industry.
Yeah, but
let the engineer give you a brief response.
Yes, he can talk. He can send an emails to the EgyptAir and maintenance companies through the official ways, and we have a lot of suppliers. Too many suppliers. We have regulations and rules to accept a new supplier. They have to present himself to the company and require documents, and then if he accepted as a certified suppliers, no problems.
Okay, good. Thank you very much for that. Engineer, we have another question from Adikini, and he has 3 questions. The first one says, are there plans in your strategic plan to create satellite MROs and ATOs in other parts of Africa to create the partnerships that we need in Africa?
Actually, this is a very good part.
Yeah,
you talked about. It's one of our recommendations for the cooperations between the airlines is to go to JVs, to go to the big names. Big names usually talk to the big names of the EM. So actually, we start this concept. We are going to JVs, and very soon we will going to declare what kind of JVs we're gonna have it. And I think it will be much interested for every airlines, I mean the big airlines in the continent, to start such kind of JVs.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. And there's another question from Adikini, and it is that your proximity to the EU probably suggests that you have a considerable number of flights to the EU compared to Africa. And this also means that you are probably preparing or planning to meet the EU SAF requirements by regulations. Now, what can you suggest to other African airlines to do in order not to be left out, those who are operating to EU?
I think he's talking about flying to EU and what kind of penalties that he's gonna, or every airline's gonna to pay because he's not fulfilled with the requirements of the EU by 2% SAF, and the SAF is not available. Actually, I had a meeting last week with the ACO, which are Arab organizations for the airlines, and we started a project, a separate project, talking to the governments, to the EU, concerning these penalties, because like we had a talk before we starting these meetings that you force us to put a 2% SAF. We go to the suppliers, and he said, I have no SAF for you. Then we are paying the penalties. The supplier has to pay the penalties. So that's why we're gonna start this kind of negotiations with the EU to put the box on the right place.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, engineer. Then there's another one which says, you did indicate that you have 7 subsidiaries. Are you considering introducing drones to aid with cargo deliveries in locations closer?
Actually, for the drones, I'm talking about the government. It start to set some kind of regulations which is controlling the drone in the civil aviation authorities. So we have to have a regulations of operation on the civil aviation authorities before thinking about investing more money in the subsidiaries to have something that will not be able to operate. So first thing, the Minister of Aviation now is starting to thinking about the certifications and inductions of the eVTOLs and the drones in flying in Egypt.
Well, thank you so much. I think we go back to our discussions and then we see if more questions will come in. We have a few more minutes to run out. So, engineer, the conference and itself, what should delegates be looking out for to see if they visit Cairo during the AGA period?
And they have to go to the pyramids.
Yeah.
And we have a lot of museums. We had a lot of places in old Cairo's. And if you have times and you can stay more times after finishing, we can go to different, but you can go to Luxor, Swan, Sharm el-Sheikh, Hurghada, different places, but it's need more times. And from 17 to 19, it will not be enough. But inside Cairo, which is old Cairo, is a very nice place to see, with very interesting pyramids, of course. The Museum of Civilizations, you're going to have the dinner there. You can see the mummies and the kings and a lot of things that you're going to enjoy.
Wow. So, I mean, for those who have the time and have the resources, you can plan to stay a little longer after the AGA.
Yes.
To visit more places. But I tell you, for those who don't even have time, there will be too much to see and do in Cairo during the period that you will be there, that you'll be amazed.
Yes,
for me,
of course.
Just even a visit to the pyramids and to the museums is absolutely fantastic. And besides that, you have all the other entertainment and options that are available for to delegates. So if you've not registered for the AGM yet, please do register and make sure you will be there with us in 2 weeks' time. Engineer, as we wrap up, I just wanted to pick your minds. You are the president of AFRAA for this year, up until this annual General Assembly. As you wind up after the AGA, how do you want to be remembered as president of AFRAA?
I'm gonna remember that you give me the honors to be a president of the AFRAA for in my life, and actually, I would be very happy that all African brothers will sit in one place, in one tables, very close together. We can shake hands. We can exchange the idea for the sake of the continents. So I would be very, very pleased to have this, and I think it will be a turning moment in my life and in my career.
Oh, great. I know, excellent. I'm just told that there are some questions on the chat box. Let me just pick a couple of them. Now, we have Alistair is asking, what are your thoughts on advanced air mobility and introducing eVTOLs to Egypt?
If somebody joined us during the Egypt International Air Show at Alameen last September, so starting from September 3rd, and it was in the show that we have eVTOL. So that we have the eVTOL in the static displays. That means Egypt are interesting to have such kind of technology in Egypt. But I'm talking about the government or the Ministry of Civil Aviation, not the EgyptAir. So the government of civil aviation start to talk about this kind of eVTOL because this is the future. Actually, we can see in different countries now are counting on such kind of drones or eVTOLs for different purposes, for mail, for transferring personnel, for a lot of things, for firefighting, different activities that can achieve by eVTOLs. And it's a part of sustainability. So, I mean, transferring from the carbon emissions vehicles to non-carbon emission to clean energy like eVTOLs. But we have to set our regulations in the Civil Aviation Authority for flying such kind of vehicles in Egypt.
Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you so much. Another question is asking another questioner, Nicholas. I want to know how EgyptAir is approaching alliances with other African countries, because you already have 14 of them. How do you do it is sort of what he wants to know, and that you are being successful because others are not.
You're talking about the co-chair with different
Yes,
airlines.
the co-chair or any other partnerships that you have with
Actually, we start when we design the networks and we start flying in the networks. So we're looking for the opportunities that we have. Maybe I have an opportunity with Rwanda Air. So I go to Rwanda Air and start talking about cooperations between two airlines. And we start to sit together. So, I mean, the responsible personnel start to sit down together and exchange their mind, their mind think about these cooperations. And sometimes people coming from different airlines to EgyptAir, they say they want to do some kind of cooperations in co-chairs, and we analyze it, we study it together. And we are happy to have such kind of cooperation.
Okay, now people are getting excited about coming to Cairo, and Adikini is asking whether EgyptAir is going to facilitate visas for the AGA.
The visas?
For people coming to the AGM, with EgyptAir assist with the visa processing?
I think everybody is responsible to getting the visa by himself. But let my organizers, I mean my personals, answer these questions, and they send it to AFRAA. But we send it. I think we send it already to AFRAA. That okay. They are the guests are responsible for getting the.
Okay, so I'm sure the AFRAA team listening, if you have the details, if you can put it on the chat box so people can just pick it up from there. But she also wants to know that the getting a visa to Egypt is quite difficult. Are you working with the government to try and make it?
Yes.
Okay, so that is coming up, Dikinye. Then there's another question. Let me just get it.
Coming from Dikini also.
I think so.
I'm very happy to answer Dikini.
Now, this one is from Vinit. He says, what are you doing to what are you doing right to get EgyptAir into the top 100 and maintain it in the top 100 airlines in the world?
Actually, I think you know that the Skytrax, the last Skytrax, we moved from 120 out of the Skytrax evaluation out of rank the top 100, and we moved inside the list to be one of the 100 airlines in the world in this list. And actually, we had a plan like last year's, and we were very solid and concrete for achieving this plan by abiding with the OTP, abiding with such kind of products and services, especially for the lounges and the aircraft products which is being presented to the passenger in the business class and in the economy class, especially in the business class, we focus on the products. So as long as you are introducing a very good product, so you will be in the top of the list. And I think the last Skytrax we nominated to be one of the most developed airlines in Africa and second in the world.
Now, find another question from Chinelo. I think now people are getting excited about the partnerships and cooperation. He wants to know, is there any plans for code sharing or interline with a Nigerian airline? I think he's from Nigeria.
We had a very good relation. So we had the last 10 days ago, I think, we had the Minister of Transport, Nigerian Minister of Transport, spent with us a very interesting meetings in the airport of the ACI. So we are very anxious and interested in dealing with Nigeria, of course.
Okay, so you get that. Now, engineer, as we round up now, I just want to give you the opportunity to sort of give us your final message. What, if you have any message for your listeners, for African airlines, aviation stakeholders, or African governments with regards to air transport on the continent?
I just want to say that Africa is for Africans, and we have to focus for this. And if we are looking on the challenges, the competition is one of the biggest challenges. If we're talking about the competitions, we are talking about the jumbo carrier or the jumbo airlines like Etihad, Qatar Airways, the Emirates, which are according to the reports in the media that they are putting too much pressure for the airlines in the continents. And we have to have the consensus. I am not stopping flying for different airlines to the Africa, but we have to be ready for these competitions. We have, especially for the long haul. I'm not talking about flying intra-Africa and that's it. For the long haul, and we have the opportunities. We have the chance to be one. Airlines, the most biggest airlines in the world. We have the chance, we have the potentials, we have everything. The governments of the African countries have to support their airlines, but actually is not supporting the airlines. They are supporting the country because the airlines are contributed in the GDPs. Is not for their sake. Is not for their profits. I'm not talking about the profit of the airlines. I'm talking about profits for the country. How much the airlines are contributing in the GDPs. This is the government should look on that.
Okay. Engineer Yehia Zakaria, I would want on behalf of AFRAA and all the audience to thank you very much for coming on SkyConnect and sharing your thoughts with us on African development. I take this with me. Africa is for Africans, and we must make it work. We must come together and develop Africa for Africans. And thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
We look forward to seeing you in Cairo soon. And to my audience, thank you very much for your active participation and the questions that you have asked. For those who need more information about the coming to Cairo for the AGM and the visa issues, please send your messages to AFRAA Secretariat. They have all the information and they will guide you accordingly. So until next time, thank you very much, Engineer Yehia Zakaria.
Thank you.
Thank you, and have a pleasant day. Bye-bye.
Thank you. I'm waiting for you. For everybody.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Have a good day, sir. Bye-bye.